there's a verse that comes at the end of the prayers that are traditionally said at bedtime Shema. It comes almost at the end of the whole sequence of prayers leading into sleep. And it says, Rigzu v'al techeta'u. You should kind of be in a state of awe, a state of respect, and don't do a hate, don't do anything wrong. Imru vilvavchem, speak in your hearts. V'domu selah. And domu means to be very still, very quiet. So it's kind of a short aphorism or an affirmation of how to be in a state of awake reverence for the sacred, to be aware of what you're doing and what you're saying, and to also be in a state of inner silence. But then in the morning prayers in Psalm, I believe it's Psalm 30. Yes, Psalm 30. It says at the end, Laman yazamercha chavod v'lo yidom, so that I may sing to you about your honor, or honor you with my singing, v'lo yidom, and not be silent. And not be silent. Leolam odecha. Forever I will thank you. So which is it? Are we supposed to be silent, or are we supposed to be ecstatic? It's another 2 slips of paper teaching. When I was, for many years when I was in Berkeley, I was doing meditation groups like this, but I also did a lot of ecstatic musical services, and some people questioned me on that. They said, well, which are you? Are you Mr. Ecstatic guy, or are you Mr. Quiet meditation guy? They wanted me to choose which one. So there's a story of the Rebbe Zev Wolf, who was the son of Rabbi Yechiel Michal. That's his name, that was it. So he's a 3rd generation Rebbe. And the story goes that when he was in his house one night by himself, he heard a noise, and he looked out the door of his bedroom, and he saw thieves that had broken into the house, and they started stealing things. And he just stayed and watched, didn't do anything. And he saw all the things that they put in their sack, and one of the last things they put in their sack was a drinking cup, which earlier that evening there was some guests over, and one of them was very sick, and the sick man had drunk out of that particular drinking cup, and the thieves put it in their sacks, and they ran away, and Zev Wolf ran after them, and he said, "Wait, wait!" And they got scared, and he said, "Don't worry, you can take everything you want, but that cup, that last cup you put in there, was used by a sick person. I don't want you to get sick. So be careful. Don't drink out of that cup." And then it says that he made a declaration to himself after that all of his property should be public property, so that if anyone else should come in and steal things, they wouldn't be punished for stealing, because he already declared it as public property. So it's a very interesting story, right? And when we hear stories like this, I think the first impulse, and my first impulse, maybe you too, is to think, what a tzaddik, what a saint, that he had no attachment to his own personal things, and that he just was willing to give it away. But on deeper thinking, I don't think that's the meaning of the story, actually. I think it's almost the opposite. And the proof for it is that if he really felt that way, then he should have just given all of his property. He should have gone out and said, "Come on, everybody, take all my property." But no, he had property, and yet I think the point of the story is how he responded when a certain incident happened. Because as we know, if someone comes and takes your stuff, And you might relate this to, maybe you haven't experienced a burglar lately, but anything that someone does that triggers a negative response inside, then the impulse is to respond with some kind of negativity, to accuse or to whatever. Certainly not to just give the person all your stuff, to concede, to be modé or moda. And so the story then, I think, my theory, take it or leave it, is that it's really hinting at a certain kind of practice. It's hinting at a practice. The practice is that we notice when some negativity is triggered. And this is what, I don't know if anyone was here on Sunday. Was anyone here on Sunday? Okay. Sunday I was talking about a particular verse in this week's Parsha, which I'll tell you. But the idea is that there are two levels to how to relate with what our experience is in the moment. One level is just to be silent, meaning not to be taken over by impulses. Negativity arises, okay, so you're aware of it and you don't get trapped by it, you don't get caught by it. That's the Domu Selah, that's the bedtime Shema. But the other level is to actually decide to do the exact opposite, to actively do something that expresses the exact opposite. And this is harder, really, much harder for me anyway. I don't know about you, bless you. It's one thing to realize that negativity is being triggered and to say, okay, I'm aware of that, and I'm not going to get sucked into that and do something negative. I'm not going to let that negativity express itself through my words and actions. And that's a very powerful and important thing, and more universally applicable. But the next level, which we can sometimes do, and I think we have to be a little careful with it, because it's not always appropriate. But there are times when, for example, if a person is rude to you in public or something, to actually say something nice to them, to be kind to them. That's a good example of when we can do that. That kind of happens all the time, right? And sometimes a person is rude and maybe they don't even know they're rude, but the impulse is to think that they know it and they're intending it, and to deliberately respond with some kind of kindness and warmth instead. And you don't feel like doing that, so that's why it's so powerful, because you're transcending your feelings. Feelings are there to help us, but they can also trap us, and they can be like a demon that takes over. So the verse here from the Parsha is talking about bringing offerings, and it says, "Vayavo'u kol ish asher nisa'o libo." It means that every person should come whose heart is elevating them. That's the word nisa'o. But as we talked about earlier, this verb nisa'o can mean elevation, but it can also mean testing. It can also mean like a trial, a challenge, a test. We can elevate ourselves through the challenge, that when our hearts, meaning our emotions, are triggered and they seek to drag us into a lower state, a reactive state, we can use that to become more elevated by being aware of that. Simply being aware, first of all, being quiet with it, being the silent presence of awareness that's aware of the impulse, and in doing so, you're already free from it. You're not free from feeling it. Yeah, still, you have to feel it if it's there, not suppress it, but you don't have to be sucked into it, dragged into it. And then the second level, that you can actually choose something completely different. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful to you. If it was, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and click the bell to receive notifications when new content is uploaded, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Another great way to support Torah of Awakening and also gain support for your own awakening is to become a member. You can try it free for 1 month, and when you do, you'll be able to meditate along with our growing community by tuning into our weekly live streams or watching later at your convenience. You'll also access hundreds of archived videos and audio recordings, Hebrew chants, guided meditation sessions, and much more. You'll also be able to have a free intro spiritual coaching call with me, as well as an annual call included in the membership. You can join 1 month free at TorahofAwakening.com. Torah of Awakening is all about helping you to access the spacious depths of your own being beyond your mind and your feelings. This is sometimes called pure consciousness or pure awareness, also traditionally known as the soul. The more you come to know this eternal dimension of your being, which is really your own divine nature, the more freedom you'll have from stress and negativity, and the more creativity, joy, and peace you will feel. In fact, everything in your life, from work to relationships to health, will all benefit from Torah of Awakening meditations and teachings. So why put it off? It's free for a month. Just go to TorahofAwakening.com and sign up, and I'll see you there. All blessings.